It's a city that moves without leaving a trace. 5,000 people live here, and yet no civilian has ever set foot inside it. What happens when the most powerful city on Earth isn't on land, but at sea? Imagine being locked inside this floating city with 5,000 people. No escape, no way out. For 90 days straight, you share a bed the size of a coffin. You work 18-hour shifts. You eat, sleep, and fight alongside strangers who become family. This is USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's most powerful warship, and for over 4,500 sailors, it's home. But what does it really take to live on a $13 billion machine that never stops moving? This is the hidden city beneath the flight deck, and today, you're going inside. USS Gerald R. Ford is not just a warship. She's a self-contained metropolis, 1,106 feet long, 25 decks, taller than a 20-story building. She displaces 100,000 tons of steel and seawater. Commissioned in 2017, she replaced the legendary USS Enterprise after 51 years of service. But here's what the headlines don't tell you. Behind the billion-dollar radars and electromagnetic catapults, there's a human story. 5,000 souls living in a space smaller than 3 football fields. They're not just operating a warship, they're surviving one. Let's start where most people never go, below the flight deck. This is the invisible city, a labyrinth of under-deck passageways, maintenance tunnels, and access shafts that wind through the belly of the ship like veins. Most of the crew will never see these spaces, but they're the reason the ship survives. Down here, engineering teams monitor nuclear reactors, damage control crews rehearse for fires and floods. Supply specialists track thousands of tons of food, fuel, and ammunition. The Ford has 2 galleys, industrial kitchens running 24 hours a day. They serve over 17,000 meals daily. The menu cycles every 3 weeks. Cultural accommodations, vegetarian options, all carefully engineered. Not just for nutrition, but for morale. Because when you can't leave, food becomes more than fuel. It's comfort, it's home. But feeding 5,000 people at sea is a logistical nightmare. Every drop of fresh water is distilled from the ocean. Every pound of food is tracked. One outbreak of foodborne illness could cripple the entire crew. During the Ford's first deployment in 2023, she conducted 43 underway replenishments. That's resupplying while moving at sea. No stopping, no ports, just constant motion. And that's just to keep people fed. Now let's talk about where they sleep. These are called racks, 6 feet long, 2 feet wide, stacked 3 high. 100 sailors crammed into a single compartment. Privacy doesn't exist here. Some hang curtains, a thin fabric barrier between you and chaos. You sleep when your shift ends. That might be midnight, that might be noon, because on a carrier, time is broken into watches. 6 hours on, 6 hours off, around the clock. For months, 18-hour duty days are common. Sleep deprivation becomes normal. The Navy knows this. They've embedded counselors, created peer support squads, installed teletherapy systems linked to medical centers back home. They've built gyms, basketball courts, even virtual reality stations for stress relief. But here's the thing they don't advertise. You can't leave. Deployments are supposed to last 90 days. But during the Ford's first major deployment, defending Israel in the Eastern Mediterranean, those 90 days became 239. 8 months at sea, no touching land, no hugging your family, no stepping outside the steel walls. Communication is rationed, bandwidth is limited, video calls are scheduled, emails are delayed. The Navy calls it blue water syndrome, isolation, monotony, the psychological weight of endless ocean. So they've developed mitigation programs, shore leave simulations, movie nights, birthdays celebrated with fanfare, promotions turned into ceremonies. They've built chapels for every faith, live-streamed sermons, faith groups that meet in hidden corners of the ship. Because when you're locked in a floating city, community isn't optional, it's survival. But here's the secret the Navy doesn't want you to know. Even a $13 billion machine breaks. The Ford was designed with revolutionary technology, electromagnetic catapults instead of steam, automated weapons elevators, AI-driven maintenance alerts, and none of it worked. When the Ford was delivered in 2017, she was supposed to be the future. But by 2020, the Government Accountability Office reported significant problems with weapons elevators. The Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, EMALS, was designed to achieve 4,166 launches between failures. It achieved 181. Weapons elevators malfunctioned. Advanced arresting gear failed. The dual-band radar had issues. A Department of Defense report in 2021 stated the ship was not combat ready. But here's what that really means. It means sailors worked around the clock to manually move munitions when elevators failed. It means pilots trusted experimental catapults with their lives, every single launch a gamble. It means officers in the Combat Information Center dealt with alert fatigue from AI systems that flagged false problems. Human-machine teaming sounds futuristic, but when the machine fails, humans carry the weight. It wasn't until September 2022, 5 years after commissioning, that Rear Admiral James Downey declared the Ford fully delivered and combat-ready. 5 years, and through all of it, the breakdowns, the extensions, the impossible shifts, the crew never quit. October 8th, 2023, Hamas attacks Israel. The world holds its breath. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin issues an order. The Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, already deployed, is redirected to the Eastern Mediterranean. Mission: deter escalation, protect American interests. The crew had been at sea for months. They were supposed to go home. Instead, their deployment was extended, again and again. While the Ford held position in the Mediterranean, her escort destroyers, Ramage, Carney, Roosevelt, Thomas, Hudner, were sent into the Red Sea. There, they intercepted missiles and drones fired from Yemen. Real threats, real combat. And back on the Ford, flight operations never stopped. 10,396 sorties launched during that deployment. Over 83,000 nautical miles traveled, 239 days away from home. These weren't just numbers. These were birthdays missed, babies born without fathers present, marriages tested. When the Ford finally returned to Norfolk on January 17, 2024, the families waiting on that pier had survived their own deployment. Because serving on a carrier isn't just about the sailor, it's about everyone they leave behind. So what have we learned about America's floating city? That behind every billion-dollar weapons system, there are human hands. Behind every sortie launched, there's a sailor who slept 4 hours. Behind every day at sea, there's a family counting down. The Navy is learning. Modular habitability, pods for extended deployments, autonomous resupply drones, augmented reality for training. They're rethinking deployment lengths, crew rotation models, mental health protocols, because they've realized something critical. Technology can fail, but people endure. The Ford's motto is integrity at the helm. It's not about the electromagnetic catapults, or the nuclear reactors, or the advanced radar. It's about the 4,500 souls who keep that machine alive. Day after day, shift after shift, deployment after deployment. They live in a space smaller than 3 football fields. They eat the same food for months. They sleep in coffin-sized racks. They miss births and weddings and funerals. And they do it willingly. Because USS Gerald R. Ford isn't just a warship. She's proof of something deeper. That America's true strength isn't measured in tonnage or firepower. It's measured in the courage of those who serve and the families who wait for them to come home.